Today we have a very exciting session. We have Mr. Ehssan
Sakhaee, yes.
Sakhaee.
Almost.
Ehssan Sakhaee, yeah, he's here to watch the World Cup, all the way from Australia. So we have our first Australian fan down here at the session. Great to have you here. Ehssan is also the founder of Inspirational Leadership, which is inspirational management, right?
Inspirational management,
yeah. And he's a leadership guru. He's a lecturer with the University of Technology, Sydney, and the School of Leadership. And I'm going to let Ehssan introduce himself, and before we dive in, with the conversation today. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, first of all, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here in your studio in Qatar, and yeah. So it was a long flight. It was about, I think, 16 hours in total.
Right.
And so I'm still getting over jet lag, but I'm here and enjoying the World Cup and meeting wonderful people like yourself. So my background is engineering. So I did an engineering degree. Then I did a doctorate in engineering as well. And then I was basically teaching and researching in engineering until I went to Japan and worked there at the university for a few years. Then I started kind of feeling, okay, I need to find more meaning and purpose in my life beyond just doing research in engineering. And I was becoming passionate about developing others and cultivating personal and leadership development, especially for the youth, for the young people. And so it started, roughly about 12 years ago. I was still living in Japan. And then I came to a point where what I was doing in my job, what I was employed to do, had kind of lost passion in it, because it was just research in wireless telecommunications. So that was my original background, and I was getting drawn to developing people and very much human-centered, which is very different to engineering. Kind of the very left-brained engineering, kind of technical to. So this was a kind of very interesting shift that happened about 12 years ago. So I did end up resigning and going back to Australia and starting a company which is Inspirational Management Australia, and Wacky Wisdom, which is also another company to create entertainment for young people using cartoons and illustrations. So I'm also a cartoonist.
Right. Oh, that's good.
In fact, I was a cartoonist before I was an engineer.
Wow. How do you mix that, the left brain and the right brain together?
So then I could utilize my cartooning skills to make animations, create books, illustrated books, which kind of are also palatable to young people, especially very complex topics like leadership and things like that. And make it more interesting for young people. So that journey started around 10 to 12 years ago, and came back to Australia, started the company, but after a year I joined the University of Sydney as a lecturer there in leadership. So I was teaching leadership subjects, and so I could bring that passion into that teaching. And for almost 10 years I was there in a kind of academic role, and my research and teaching was around leadership. I taught subjects also in building a sustainable world, which was the final subject I taught, which was around students developing soft skills, leadership skills, and also working on meaningful projects based on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. About a year and a half ago, I decided, okay, maybe it's time to do something different. So I left my full-time job to pursue writing books, and also getting back into a business setting to scale what I've been teaching beyond the classroom, so that I can influence more people to make a better world, a more sustainable world. So that kind of happened over the past year and a half, and I published a book, and I'm still writing a few more, which is around self-leadership, leading others. And that's kind of my story. That's my journey.
Okay, let's take the gloves off here. Okay, are you ready for this? So my first question is it necessary for everyone to even aspire to be a leader? If all a leader is, where are the followers? Right? I mean, maybe some people are meant to be just sitting on a desk and doing his thing or her thing.
That's right.
And why should he or she even try to be a leader? It's this whole positive psychology thing around is forcing people to be someone they don't want to be, right? So is that something that you thought about?
I think it's very important.
Right.
So it's a very important kind of question you've raised here is whether everyone needs to be a leader, because we need followers too. I mean, in fact, I'm not sure if you've seen this video. There's a video of just someone dancing, and then they say that the importance of the first follower determines whether that person is a lunatic or a leader. Because once there was the first follower, then there were other people who followed.
Right.
Yes.
So we need followers. Followers are important.
Right.
And in terms of leadership, it is a skill that can be developed. So it is, I think, the primary, I guess, ingredient that's important for leadership is purpose. What do I need to do? Why am I doing it? And why is it important to me? That kind of brings that leadership element. And when you inspire people around you on that vision, on that mission of change, that's when you have a leader who kind of creates a community to make that change. So if someone doesn't have a passion, a purpose for something, then it's very hard for them to be a leader, because a leader of what? I mean,
And it's okay.
and that's totally fine.
Totally fine,
Many people love to help others, support others to make something happen. So they might not necessarily want to initiate anything or be lead any teams, because that's not where they see themselves, right?
No, because why I ask you this question, Ehssan, is because I remember someone once saying, you put an experiment, you put 10 kids in a room. Naturally, after 2 hours, you can begin to figure out who's the leader and who stands out. Yeah. I mean, and we've always having parental pressure to be leaders, and sometimes it's too much pressure. I'm thinking about those 9 kids. If you have 10 kids who are not meant to be leaders, it's perfectly fine for them to live their lives. They don't have to be number 1 or number 2.
That's right.
And this whole rat race, which people get into, and sometimes, okay, at a personal level, we're all expected to have leadership at the home, At our homes, where we have kids, your family, you're expected. That's leadership too. It's not just corporate things.
That's right.
But the point I was making, why I asked you this question is, sometimes I think it's okay for certain people, and there's nothing to be ashamed about. If I say, I just like sitting and designing the software, and I don't want to get into, getting everyone to work around and, the whole vision, and I don't want to change the world.
That's right.
And ever since Silicon Valley came up, it's become almost, to the point of becoming a stereotype, saying, I want to change the world. Everyone's changing the world, so this is where, it's important. I wanted to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
Because leadership should be seen in that perspective too.
Absolutely. I mean, I 100% agree, because the diversity of people being different and having, different function in society is absolutely essential. You can't make a fish climb a wall, there's a saying, and everyone have their place. And imagine that, you mentioned about that experiment. Imagine all 10 were leaders. They'll be just fighting each other. Like, I want to lead us. I want to lead us.
Right.
So it doesn't work. So
Right.
nature has designed us for all of us to have a certain function. And all we need to do is discover what that is. There is a unique gift in all of us.
And find your piece, right? And that's when you're in your zone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So discovering that and being able to follow that, because that's when people feel a sense of well-being by doing what is aligned with who they are.
Yes. And I believe there are a lot of different spheres to leadership. Like he mentioned, there's a leadership in the family. We essentially are all leaders in our own terms. You just have to find out, which sphere
That's
you're going to be
exactly
excelling most.
Absolutely.
I like the book that you wrote, because it talks about self-leadership. That's the first
All of
leadership
us
that
have
we
to do that
all
one.
have to master. So all of us, is included in that sphere.
To lead ourselves first.
Yeah, lead ourselves first, because you cannot lead others if people don't see the integrity in you. This is a very important sphere that we all have to master.
That's a great point. If we can't lead ourselves,
Exactly.
best of luck leading others.
Absolutely. If I don't know who I am, what I'm about, what my strengths and weaknesses are, what my purpose is, then I can't even do it. I can't lead other people. How do I manage myself and my emotions, my stress, my time?
Exactly.
I mean,
And Ehssan, that is a big problem here. You see, in Doha, I've had a lot of conversations with entrepreneurs. And here's the funny thing is, if you're a leader and you expect your employee to wake up and be there at 8 a.m. every morning, but you yourself can't do that. And this is at a very basic level. I'm talking about so many other things. People it's hard for them to accept you as a leader when you can't walk that talk yourself, but you have that expectations from your subordinates.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is something which is which we keep seeing every day, because the conversation, like a lot of our viewers are entrepreneurs, and the biggest challenge they have is how to get the best out of the people.
Absolutely.
Because people we have had some great companies paying fabulous salaries, but still not having that kind of productivity. So if money was the solution, maybe we could have solved it. But there's something which is, creating that environment which we're not able to when we say, how do I get the best out of my people?
Absolutely. And I think that's where the self-leadership element is so important for a leader, because if they haven't figured out what gets them up in the morning, being passionate about something that really excites them, how can they excite other people? I mean, passion and vision is contagious if the leader is really connected with that mission and vision.